Now we conclude Lecture 10 with Presentation 4. The only European Homo erectus unexpected discoveries. In 2001, human fossils were recovered at Dmanisi, Georgia, dating to 1.7 million years ago. The Dmanisi fossils were a huge surprise. At 1.7 million years in age, they are the oldest known humans outside of Africa, in a place not known for ancient human fossils. Originally placed into a new species, Homo georgicus, the researchers now identify the fossils as Homo erectus. And I want to point something out. Right here, this is as close as Homo erectus is confirmed in Europe. There are other specimens that some believe belong to Homo erectus in Europe proper, but none can be confirmed as such. The Dmanisi fossils provided an additional unexpected bit of surprising information. They were small in cranial size and small in body size. This adult female had a cranial capacity of 650 cubic centimeters in volume. This adult male had a cranial capacity of 775 cubic centimeters in volume. This nearly adult female with severe dental pathologies had a cranial capacity of 600 cubic centimeters in volume. I want to point something out. If you look at the front of her mouth over here, you will see tooth sockets. That means that she lost her teeth near, at, or just after she died. But over here on the sides of her mouth, can you see this over here where her roots are exposed? That means that the alveolar process, the area that holds your teeth in place with tooth sockets, has retracted. This means she had poor dental health, and these teeth would have fallen out and there would have been no tooth sockets. That is something that tells us that she had poor dental health. So keep this in mind because this will come up again soon. This toothless elderly male had a cranial capacity of 600 cubic centimeters. Now, I want to point something out. Dental loss is not evidence of biological age. Remember the last female that we looked at? She had no teeth in parts of her mouth or was starting to lose teeth. She was a very late teenager. In contrast to dental loss, degree of cranial suture closure is indicative of adult biological age. So if we take a look at this guy here, what we see down here, the alveolar process is completely gone. There are no tooth sockets. He lost his teeth while he was still alive. But up here where the cranial bones should show the seams between two bones and around through here over here, those seams are lost because as one ages, the bones knit together and you can no longer see that there were multiple bones. This means that this individual truly was elderly and it had nothing to do with dental loss. In addition to small crania, the individuals were short-statured, less than 5 feet in height. Size variation may be a Homo erectus trait. Alleles from smaller-sized Pliocene ancestors would have been retained in the genome, but there were also new alleles for larger sizes. And 2, the ability to reach size potential is impacted by environment, nutrition, etc. during childhood. Our bodies have the ability to direct nutrients to beneficial places. Calcium and other minerals are necessary for laying down new dental enamel during the development of adult teeth before they erupt. If a child has low caloric intake, the body directs those minerals to more important jobs associated with keeping the individual alive. This disrupts enamel deposition and scars the forming adult teeth with horizontal bands, enamel hypoplasias. Hypo means low. So the laying down of the new material has been reduced. In the case of the Dmanisi Homo erectus population, there is evidence of childhood nutritional stress-related enamel hypoplasias. So if we take a look at the human up above, you can see horizontal bands across each of the teeth. When we take a look down below at the Dmanisi specimen, we see horizontal bands again, right here, down along here, and so on and so forth. So obviously this individual was not able to form dental enamel in continuous action. The 1.7 million year old Dmanisi Homo erectus population and people are the first humans known to live at a non-tropical latitude. This may have contributed to difficulty obtaining food. Think about it. They've gone from warm Africa to a very cold place. They might not have been able to figure out what foods were edible and how to find those foods. One last thing before I move on here, I want to point out what makes this Homo erectus. Right here, a sagittal keel. Importantly, the Dmanisi Georgian fossils provide the only confirmed fossil evidence of European Homo erectus. Where? Right at the border between Europe and Asia in Georgia. Probable Homo erectus news from 2015. On September 10, 2015, there was a big news media event in which a new human species from South Africa was announced to the world, Homo naledi. The 1,550 fossil fragments of 15 individuals were recovered at the back of the Rising Star Cafe. The species was published online in eLife, and a televised press event was provided for news services around the world, and the National Geographic, the sponsor, ran an article entitled "Almost Human, a New Ancestor Shakes Up Our Family Tree," and there was a Nova special shown on PBS. And I received lots of emails from my students. Most were pretty excited about the news, but I urged caution. Why? Time. The bells and whistles of the press event are not the norm in the rather cautious world of paleontology. Normally, major finds are published in a leading peer-reviewed scientific journal, but the authors had been rejected by at least one of the major journals. Why? Time. In paleontology, time is everything. If there is an interesting find that needs to be reported before chronometric dating is completed, that's all right, if the researchers urge caution until the dates are established. In this case, the researchers claimed that the species was 2 million years old, but without evidence of time. Rick Potts of the Human Origins Program at the Smithsonian explained, without geologic time, there's no way we can judge evolutionary significance. Chris Stringer of the Natural History Museum in London expressed frustration that the team hadn't tried radiocarbon dating. As he explained, then we would know if the fossils were at least 50,000 years old. And Susan Anton of New York University declared, I find the fossils fabulous but confusing. We don't have any idea how old this stuff is or whether it's relevant to the origin of Homo. Some suspect that the individuals represent late Australopithecus or early Homo habilis, but others support Homo erectus. Scientific consensus requires inspection and time. So, the collectors of the specimens did one thing right. I am holding a three-dimensional printer copy of one of the lower jaws and teeth, and I was very surprised. From reading about it, I had thought that it would be a member of the genus Australopithecus. The image below, I'm sorry it was taken with my smartphone, shows strong differences. Australopithecus afarensis has parallel tooth rows. They line up like lanes on a street. Naledi has parabolic tooth rows shaped like the St. Louis Arch, and its teeth are much smaller than Australopithecus. The comparison to Homo habilis was no more satisfying. Homo habilis has tooth rows that are less parallel than Australopithecus, but more parallel than Naledi. Again, Naledi's teeth are smaller. Yes, it is an adult. The best comparison was to Homo erectus. Both are parabolic and tooth size is similar, but I have to admit the front teeth are smaller on Naledi. When I compare it to the image of the Dmanisi, Georgia Homo erectus, the results are very satisfying. The numerous fossil fragments of the 15 Naledi humans recovered from the Rising Star Cave in South Africa are promising, but until geologists attend to the dating issues, there is little that can be concluded. It takes time to understand new fossil finds. And breaking news, probable Homo erectus news from 2017. A 2017 publication using multiple dating methods concludes that the Naledi finds date to 414 to 236,000 years ago, also published on eLife. This is much more recent than previously hypothesized and overlaps with African Homo erectus and African Homo sapiens. With a sagittal keel and brain and body within the Dmanisi size range, Naledi could very well be Homo erectus. Of course, the researchers may have a new human species. If so, there is one fact that cannot be denied. Regardless of whether they are Homo erectus or another species, the Naledi individuals are too young to be ancestral to Homo sapiens. The oldest datable populations of Homo sapiens, the archaic group, are in Spain with a geologic age of about 1 million years. African archaic populations are not well dated but appear to have diverged from African Homo erectus prior to expansion into Europe. In short, the Naledi fossil specimens do not shake up our family tree. They provide important documentation of late Pleistocene intraspecies population or interspecies taxonomic variation. Not surprising, pretty darn cool, it's evolution. Homo erectus adaptations, adaptive profile for Homo erectus. Geologic age, 1.9 million years ago to 250,000 years ago, possibly younger. Geographic range, oldest in East Africa, expansion across Africa, then to the European frontier at Georgia, and Southeastern Asia and China. Body size, 5 feet to, for the first time, 6 feet in height. Sexual dimorphism is moderate, within the range of modern humans. Brain size, average of 870 cubic centimeters in volume. However, the range overlaps with all Homo taxa. Locomotion, this is our first fully facultative biped. Habitat, tropical and non-tropical. Diet, omnivory. Tools, organic and stone. It is the first species associated with Acheulean stone tools. The archaeological record of Acheulean stone tools is more extensive than the fossil record, and it is older. It suggests the pathways above for Homo erectus population movement. Homo erectus had a brain closer in structure to modern humans than to apes or to Pliocene humans. The frontal lobes are not as developed as they are in Homo sapiens, but Broca's region suggests rudimentary speech was possible. Our primary evidence of Homo erectus frontal lobe development comes from artifacts in the Acheulean stone tool tradition. The oldest known Acheulean stone tool, shown below here, dates to 1.65 million years ago in Kenya. Acheulean is characterized principally by the biface, the two-sided hand axe. The ability to manufacture an Acheulean hand axe requires training, skill, and planning. The correct materials must be chosen, and the maker must have a concept of a specific object in mind as she or he knocks flakes off of the stone. This indicates development of the medial prefrontal cortex. Homo erectus children would have learned to make hand axes while watching their parents constructing the stone tools. The Acheulean hand axe is aesthetically pleasing and has the added value of utility. Depending on size, it could be used to cut and scrape using the edges, to bore using the point, and to hammer using the body. Acheulean is the product of a more complex brain than was required for Oldowan tool manufacture and use. Homo erectus was the first human associated with Acheulean tools, but Acheulean is not restricted to Homo erectus. Homo sapiens used this tool culture as well. For example, who made the namesake Acheulean hand axe from Saint-Acheule in France? There is no evidence of Homo erectus in Europe proper. The European Acheulean hand axes appear to have been constructed by a bigger-brained hominin that later gave rise to Neanderthal and modern human populations. In Lecture 11, you will learn about the first populations of the species Homo sapiens.